In previous videos, I've taken you through how here on the east coast of New South Wales, the sun is in the southern part of the sky. And I've also done videos where I feel like everything in history that we know it, life as we know it, is up for discussion. If it goes against our senses and it goes against the Bible, it's up for discussion. And remember, sometimes our senses have been suppressed because they've fed us lies and we've fallen for their lies. And a classic example of that is the motion of the earth and the spin of the earth. It's clearly not happening. We knew it as kids, and all they say is gravity for that. So that's just an example of that. So I'm sort of thinking right now that the makeup of the world is certainly not as we know it, but things where they actually are and where the sun is completely different to what they're telling us. So since I did that last video, so remember the sun here comes up from the south of east over that way, and I'm south of the tropic of Capricorn. So it shouldn't be happening. Now, I've heard from people in New Zealand. I heard from somebody in New Zealand who told me that during their summer, so around the same time, that the sun does the same thing. And I've sort of reflected on, now I can't really vouch for whether it's in the southern sky or not, but it makes sense that it would be, because the times I've been in Tasmania and Melbourne, I've found particularly, well between the equinox, the spring equinox in September, and the summer solstice, the days just become epically longer. Now, for that to happen, the sun has to be closer to you. Now, I've looked at all of these models about this, and I always return to the globe because it's the taken model, and I just need to see what it says about it. Now, you may say it happens here because of the tilt of the axis of the Earth, but it doesn't. The sun is still in that model. The sun is still in a fixed position, so it doesn't matter how much we tilt. That there's never a bisection of that line of the Tropic of Cancer, a Tropic of Capricorn, and my point. Those lines never bisect. It's just if the axis keeps going up, you're under the equator and shit. You know, it doesn't stack up. The flat Earth model. Now the flat Earth model, it certainly doesn't stand up, and I believe because it's a psyop, it's been hijacked by them. So don't forget, if they're controlled opposition, that means they're feeding you information they want you to know. So you look at all of the big channels, people like Eric Dubay and the like. I've tried to talk to Eric Dubay a few times, and he's quite arrogant. Doesn't really want to answer your questions. My priority is the flat Earth, he said to me when I asked him about the moon on the flat Earth. I'm wary of them, and I just know what they're feeding us is shit. So I see everybody up there in the north all the time. You're arguing about this and that, and it just doesn't stand up down here. So to me, as we get around this time of year, around the solstice, around the summer solstice, everything in the sky goes further south, and the days become longer. We see more sun, and the days become longer, and it's simply because the sun's more in the southern sky. So it rises just to the south of it, and then it comes over me just a little bit to the north, and then it hooks right down south. But yet when it's in winter, it comes up over there, and it's just a little arc that goes over there. So because it's in the north, it seems to make everything shorter and colder and all that. Now it's because the sun is further away from me. So the further it goes that way, the further it's away, and it seems the further it goes this way, the closer I am to it, because things get more exaggerated. You picking up what I'm putting down? Right, so you go to New Zealand, the southern part of New Zealand, you go to Tasmania, places like that, and it becomes even more exaggerated. So that means they're closer to the sun. So I'm further away from the sun and they're south of me, because everything gets exaggerated down there. Their days are epically long down in Tasmania during the summer. I remember once I was in Melbourne, I went for the Melbourne Cup in 2001, and I'm sitting there having dinner, you know, and I'd lived here on the central coast of New South Wales my whole life. It was the first time I think I'd been to Melbourne. And I couldn't believe it. It was like 8:30 at night in early November, and it was still daytime. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'd never experienced anything like it. I knew what was going on because I've been a stargazer my whole life, and I've always been interested in these things, but I couldn't believe it. I'm like, whoa. And then I was in Tasmania once, and exactly the same thing. So this is what's happening. I mean, it's truth. How can it not be truth? When the sun is, when things are exaggerated more, there's more light, the sun has to be closer to you, does it not? Or am I getting this wrong? And there's no one can explain to me. No one can explain to me on any of these models, and I just keep hearing this bickering and all of this and that. Up north, no one can explain to me why this thing's in the southern sky when the Tropic of Capricorn's up there. And the further south you go, the more exaggerated it gets. That AE, Gleason's map thing, it just gets the seasons abhorrently wrong. I mean, you compare that first line out, the Arctic Circle, the Antarctic Circle, maybe the next one out. You compare it up north to down south, and there's nowhere near the daylight down here than what you give it up there. You know? So it's like it works perfect up there. I give you that. Everything seems to work absolutely perfect up there, but here it doesn't. It's the complete opposite. So what's going on? You know, you've got to use your senses. It's like, okay, so it's south. That's where it is. Or is New Zealand north of me? I don't know. Are these? They're not north of me because I've been there and I flew down that way. I remember going down the coast. So I don't know, but I just want to throw these questions out there. All the flat earth videos I do seem to get the most comments. So I look forward to people just thumbing it down and not giving a reason why they did it, not contributing. So I'm not trying to be an arsehole, I'm just asking questions because I want to know things. Good morning from the New South Wales coastline.